Hello my friends, and welcome back. Today, we have some major updates from the Ukrainian front. And this one is truly remarkable. Ukraine has reportedly destroyed another Russian S-400 air defense system, one of the most advanced and expensive in Russia's arsenal. The strike was carried out by Ukrainian long-range drones, although some reports suggest it could also have been a HIMARS missile. At this point, the exact location hasn't been officially confirmed, but judging by the footage and satellite data, it was most likely deep inside Russian-occupied territory, far behind the front lines. In the video, we can see command vehicles, radar trucks, and one very specific piece of equipment, the LS-9 Foren 6 radar, which is the core of the S-400 system. You can even see Russian personnel running from the area just moments before the explosion. And then, kaboom, a massive, precise strike directly on the radar itself. After watching that explosion carefully, I'd say this was definitely a drone strike rather than a HIMARS hit. The precision was too high, and make no mistake, this was not a decoy setup. The number of Russian troops on site and the scale of destruction clearly show it was an operational S-400 system, not a fake. The surveillance footage was captured by Ukraine's Shark drone, one of the country's domestically produced long-range UAVs. Ukraine has been rapidly expanding production of these drones, though range is still a limitation, which means this strike likely took place not too far from the front. Either way, it's another painful loss for Russia, both militarily and financially. The radar unit alone costs more than the missile launchers combined, making it the most valuable target in the S-400 complex. Ukraine also achieved another extraordinary feat, striking a Russian oil refinery 2,000 kilometers from its border. That's right, minus 2,000 kilometers. This is a new record for a Ukrainian drone operation. The refinery, located in Tyumen, erupted in flames after the impact. Some analysts initially speculated it might be a small accident, but later footage confirmed it was indeed a Ukrainian drone strike. And here's a personal note. Back in 2009, I actually spent 2 months in Tyumen while doing flight training on the ATR-40 aircraft. At the time, there was no war, and Ukrainian pilots often trained in Russia. So, seeing that same city now struck by Ukrainian drones, I can't lie, it hits differently. The refinery suffered visible damage, though it's unclear whether the most critical units were destroyed. Still, the symbolism and technical success are what matter most. Ukraine can now hit strategic Russian infrastructure at an unimaginable distance. And get this, Russian air defense didn't even trigger air alarms. They simply didn't expect an attack that far from Ukraine. Meanwhile, in Crimea, another spectacular explosion lit up the night sky, this time at a massive Russian oil storage facility in Feodosia. The fire was so large that it looked like a volcano erupting over the Black Sea, except, of course, Crimea doesn't have volcanoes. What it does have is a major fuel depot now burning uncontrollably. This storage site was one of the largest in Crimea and served the Russian military fleet. With it gone, or at least severely damaged, Russia will struggle to supply its naval operations in the region. Even NASA's satellite fire detection system confirmed the scale of the blaze, which has been burning for more than 24 hours. And as if that wasn't enough, there's more chaos for Russian air defense. Footage emerged showing a Ukrainian drone landing on top of a Russian Buk-M3 air defense system. Yes, landing and sitting there like a spy device. Russian soldiers could be seen circling it, filming on their phones, and even poking it with a branch. Seconds later, they started running for their lives. It's both hilarious and terrifying. According to reports, the drone later detonated, destroying the system. This is the second time such a drone-on-the-roof incident has been recorded, proving just how vulnerable even Russia's modern systems have become. Ukraine also continues drone operations in Belgorod, hitting industrial facilities near the border for the second day in a row. Russia now faces the same blackouts it tried to inflict on Kharkiv and Chernihiv, a taste of its own medicine. President Zelensky said it clearly, if Russia wants blackouts in Ukraine, they can have them in Russia too. And he wasn't joking. Meanwhile, Russia is taking extreme defensive measures, placing anti-drone nets and mesh covers even 2,500 kilometers from Ukraine, near their nuclear weapons storage facilities. Yes, they're literally trying to shield their nuclear arsenal from drones. Imagine that, the world's largest nuclear power, scared of small Ukrainian UAVs. One more important update. Remember the Kaputted refinery in Russia? It's now confirmed to be completely non-operational after Ukrainian drone strikes. It was one of the largest in Russia, and its loss means major disruptions for Russian fuel production. Moscow now relies on imported fuel from neighboring countries, a shocking situation for what used to be a global energy giant. On the front lines, the situation remains intense, particularly in the Dnipro and Pokrovsk sectors. Russia continues to push forward, gaining some ground near Malat, Tokmachka, and Verbov, though Ukrainian counterattacks are ongoing. The fighting is brutal and fluid, with both sides taking heavy losses. In just 1 week, Russia lost at least 50 for armored vehicles, while Ukraine lost around 27, according to open-source visual confirmations. Further north near Lyman, Russian forces blew up bridges across the Siversky Donets River, cutting supply lines for both sides and making any large-scale advancement nearly impossible. Ironically, it might have protected Sloviansk by making the river an unpassable barrier. And finally, a political twist. Donald Trump recently made a curious comment when asked about sending Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine or NATO. He said, "I pretty much made my decision." And then he paused, realizing he might have said too much. If this is true, and the US indeed decides to supply Tomahawk cruise missiles to Ukraine, it could completely change the course of the war. These missiles are fast, low-flying, and extremely hard to intercept, perfect for long-range precision strikes. Whether it happens or not, one thing is clear: Ukraine's capabilities are evolving at a breathtaking pace. From drones that fly 2,000 kilometers to strikes that paralyze Russia's most expensive air defense systems, the war is entering a new stage, one where technology, innovation, and precision are Ukraine's greatest weapons. So, my friends, that's all for today's update.